Were you impacted by Bench's shutdown announcement? Hi, I'm Patti Scharf, CPA and partner at Acuity. Today, I'm going to talk about what happened with Bench and what actionable steps you can take from here. Who's Bench? Bench is basically an accounting firm, but they went to market a little bit differently. They were trying to commoditize accounting services. So they got venture capital money to the tune of $113 million. They had investors like Shopify and Bain Capital. They were basically packaging accounting services with their own proprietary software, and they served every small business out there. It was a very horizontal approach. They didn't specialize in anything in particular. And on their website, they said that they had served 35,000 American small businesses. In reality, they had about 12,000 clients at the time of this event that I'm about to talk about, and they had about 600 employees. All right, so what happened? And I'm going to talk about what happened, but throughout the rest of this video, I've got so many different nuggets of side stories that I want to tell you about. So stick with me in this video because I think that there's a lot that you can glean from it. You may find it just interesting, you may find it infuriating, but regardless, here's what actually happened. On December 27th, last Friday, Bench sent out an email to all of its clients saying, services are being terminated effective immediately. You can have access to your data on December 30th through March 7th. And if you want to go work with another bookkeeping firm, we can recommend Kick. So no notice. Everybody was in a tizzy. And then on Monday, on their website, they took down the recommendation for Kick. They added up, hey, we've been acquired by employer.com. Employer.com is kind of a parent company of a bunch of different HR, like human resource firms, recruiting firms, payroll, onboarding, things like that. So Bench was acquired by them. And then they had a new link that said, hey, if you want to continue service, click here. If you click on that, then it gives you the option of either downloading all of your information and opting out from continuing with employer.com or continuing with employer.com. So that's what happened. So everybody was asking, how could this happen to such a big company? And I think there was really only one reason that I saw anybody give that had any credence, and it was that they had debt covenants that were violated, and their debt was called back. So basically, people loaned the company money. They had to meet whatever metrics they had to meet to not have to pay back that loan. They didn't meet them. They immediately had to pay back the loan, and they didn't have the cash reserves to be able to do that. So the end, the plug is pulled. Okay. There were some theories. I don't know if these have any credence or not, where people were like, well, the timing is very interesting. It was before the end of the year. So then they didn't have to close books. They didn't have to do 1099s and all of that. I can't really speak to that, but that is a concern that was out there. Let's talk about some of the reactions and ripple effects that have happened over the last few days. So one of the first reactions I saw was from the co-founder of Bench, who was ousted by the board 3 years earlier. He wrote a reaction saying basically that the board had not agreed with him on future vision and strategy. One of the things that stuck out to me, he said, on a personal level, I just didn't think I could stand to watch them dismantle the company I'd spent a decade building. And it was really heartfelt. I think it's worth a read. So I've linked that down below if you want to check that out. One of the things I heard over and over was that Bench actually pushed their clients to renew back in November, or maybe early December, they raised prices and forced them to sign up for a year's worth of services. So a lot of people had just paid a year's worth of accounting fees right before their services were snatched out from under them. So a lot of people were like reading the terms and conditions where it says that they can't have a class action suit. Or a lot of people were talking about doing basically filing chargebacks on the services that they paid for with their credit card companies, so that basically they would get their money back that way, even if Bench wouldn't pay them back. Now, I've got a quick note on Kick. So this is the company that Bench referred everybody over to initially before employer.com bought them. And they just don't have that much of a track record. But even so, the people, Bench customers who just got jilted by Bench, they're like, why would I go to a company that you recommend? I don't trust you. Why would I trust them? Forgetting that the accounting industry is 100% built on trust. I think the most interesting reactions are the ones I'm seeing around the direct competitors to Bench. So Finaloop, Pilot, any of these companies that are trying to turn accounting services into more of a technology service, the ones who have taken venture capital, the ones that are growing really fast and just spending oodles of money, people are skittish. They are once bitten, twice shy. And I love this comment that I read. It cracked me up. Don't go from one tech bro service to another. So you can see how people are starting to move back towards more personalized contact, things like that. I just did a video on this a couple of months ago saying that AI is not ready yet. And if people are trying to do too much too soon, it's going to have a pushback effect where people are going to want more human contact and more personalized service. So this is where we are. With that said, both Pilot and Finaloop immediately came out with screaming offers. So if you actually still are interested in one of these companies and you want to go that direction, now is the time to do it. And I will say Finaloop in particular has a pretty decent reputation in the industry. And I did a video on them about 6 months ago. So you might go check that out and see what I have to say about them. There was also buzz all weekend long and continuing into this week on Reddit. So I have to give Reddit a shout out. And I've got the link down below. That was my gateway to the rabbit hole of checking out this entire mad scramble, focusing on the word mad, that showed how all of these small businesses and employees were impacted by this change. So far, neither Xero nor Intuit have commented on the Bench shutdown, which I find really interesting. And I think that both of them are going to end up being big winners in this, because people are starting to pay attention to the value of being able to get your data out of a system, in addition to just easy access of getting the information into a system. So I think we need to stay tuned and see what happens there. Okay, now my reaction. My first thought is, number one, AI is not ready to replace accountants. It's not going to be ready for a good long while. I did a whole video about this 8 months ago. We're just not there yet. So I'm not surprised by this, but go check out my video. It pretty much all came true, everything I was saying. So I feel very vindicated. The second thing is, I was thinking, like, what does this mean for employer.com? Like, why did employer.com want to acquire this clearly failed business? And I was like, oh, well, they're in recruiting and they are in onboarding and they're people, like they're all about HR and people. So this company may not have a working model, but it's got 600 employees in a time where we've got a massive accounting talent shortage. So it seems like kind of a win for them, depending on how much they paid to take over the business. But looking at it from that perspective, probably the employees and they are going to be fine. But I think the big losers in this are going to be the clients. Like, employer.com is not an accounting service firm. I don't know how they're going to close the books and do all the things. So I'm a little bit worried for everybody. And I will just add that there was some chatter going on in our company talking about the experience that people are having now that employer.com is definitely acquiring it, and people are going in there and they're clicking on the option to download their information. They're not getting anything. So I don't know if that's going to get fixed. I don't know if there's a backlog. I don't know if people are manually doing it or what, but it's kind of scary that a lot of people may be losing all of their information. The third thing I wanted to talk about is that accounting, the industry of accounting is built on trust. So I just don't see how employer.com is going to make this work when Bench is so fundamentally rattled all of their clients. Like their entire client base is just shaken to the core. So I don't know. We'll see. All right. So now what? Okay, the first thing is to not panic. It'll be okay. There are a bunch of accountants jumping into the fray to help you out. In fact, Acuity is putting their money where their mouth is. And if you go to acuity.co/bench-alternative, we've got information how you can come on board with us and we can give you some good deals. So there are lots of deals out there. Take advantage of them. Next up, know your deadlines. The first deadline that's coming up is 1099s. Those are due at the end of January. If you are a partnership or an S corporation, your tax return is likely due on March 15th. If you are a C corporation or Schedule C, your returns are going to be due on April 15th. Make sure you file an extension so that you have more time to gather your paperwork and make sure everything's in order before you file those returns. However, make sure that you remember that an extension is not an extension on time to pay. It's only an extension on time to file. So make sure you estimate how much is owed and get that paid in by the deadlines. My last tip is start gathering all of your information that you can, whether it's bank statements, credit card statements, payment processor statements, whatever you can get your hands on. I know that Bench has a link to download documents that I just mentioned is not working at the moment, but hopefully it comes back soon. But gather whatever you can so that you're ready to collaborate with your accountant. And I think you should be good. Whew, that felt like a long one. All right. So I hope this helped you out. Let me know what your game plan is. Let me know if you like this video. If you did, please like, comment, and share. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll catch you later.